All right, we are live.
Three most important people are here.
Yes. All has to do with the size of your beard. You can tell who's
Or your lack of
reachable.
desire to do the work that's assigned to you right now.
All right. So following up to this email that I did not send to the mailing list.
Okay. Did you send it to anyone?
No, I didn't even write the darn mail.
Okay.
So, but we had a couple of discussion around that, right? So, well, actually, yes, it could be
You
following
sent
up.
an email to the mailing list,
Yeah, I did send an email to a mailing
but
list.
not the
Maybe,
one that he wanted to. I don't know.
yeah, the one that talks that I usually send to the mailing list prior to this
Oh, okay.
dev meeting to give an
The
agenda and stuff,
Yeah.
right? You know, update the wiki, all the stuff that I slack at doing lately. I'll try to catch up on that. But so yes, I did send this email, and there's been a couple of further discussion on this. I updated the wiki a bit too, with all the stuff around sort of the core fundamental concepts around the modular approach we took for Ehcache 3.0, right? So there are, I think, two topics around this right now. So let me share my screen, maybe. Not sure it's going to be really useful though. So maybe I should just not share my screen now. So Ludovic started. Ludovic is sadly ill right now, so he will not attend this. So hopefully he'll watch the recording. That's the bug. All right. I wonder whether that's shared with the. What happens? Do we check what happens to the stuff that we send?
I don't know. I think it can be seen by everybody, but I don't believe that it.
It would be cool that it
YouTube.
annotates in the YouTube.
It should become an annotation in YouTube. I bet it doesn't. You should
Right.
file that as a bug too.
Right. No, that would be a feature request. So, anyways, so Ludovic started working on the tiering, introducing the tiering, right? And he wasn't really sure how to wire that in. Even though it may not seem obvious, around the same lines, Abhilash sent an email to the mailing list around what was it? Serializers and serialization providers and all of these. And so there seemed to be a little bit of confusion around all of that, which is perfectly understandable because I think Chris and I are the two twisted minds behind all this, and it sits somewhere in our twisted mind, but nowhere else. So I started editing the wiki a bit around services. So I did some cleanup there, tried to explain like what services are and how they get bootstrapped. Not sure whether you, Louis, read that at all.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
So effectively, what I tried to explain there is that a service is something that is managed by the cache manager alongside with the caches it manages, and effectively it exposes those services to caches and or other services that it manages, so that they can all use each other, right? So an example would be, say, that would be an hypothetical example because I don't think it's implemented. I know we have a thread, some service around the threading, which effectively provides some kind of executor service and or threads or whatnot for things to use. So that would be one service, and I know that the statistics use that today. Effectively, the same could be true for your disk store. Because the store uses a dedicated thread to its magic. So again, right, that would be the kind of reuse we're looking at. So quickly, the way that the services are discovered, there are a couple of services that are really core to to Ehcache, like the store provider, which is a service, right? The cache always requires a store, so that is sort of hard-coded in there, but anybody that provides a store provider could actually decide to introduce another service that he cares about. And so the way that this all gets wired is using the service loader facility from the JDK to load service factories, which in turn the cache manager uses at bootstrap time to create, oh, maybe not at bootstrap time, I think some can be lazy, to create services, and then once it has those services, they can be handed off to services or caches for them to use. All right, so that was a mouthful. So effectively, the way that you then make use of all that is the stuff that I wanted to cover. So I think I'm going to start with Ehcache's Ehcache's task. I'll just say problem, and it's not really a problem. So actually, sorry, I'm, as usual, totally not ready for doing this. So I need to find my ID. Maybe I should, you know what, I'm going to close stuff.
Sorry, I had to move a vehicle because the guy was here to empty the portaloo.
We didn't even miss you.
Good. Didn't miss you either.
The task from Ehcache was adding the serializer information to the XML configuration.
Right. But there is actually more that needs to be done in order to achieve that. Well, more. Go figure. Like, is it really more, or is it just what really needs to happen? And I think there were also a couple of mistakes done along the line prior to that. So how do I share my screen? Oh, here. Yeah. Share?
You want to present, remember?
Yeah.
Because Louis and I will do a lot of talking.
Screens. Door. There we go. Share that. Then present to everyone, and then make it so it's actually readable by people. Help presenter. Alright, some action going on, so you may hear some barking. Like, no, he refrained. All right, so let me quick. So we got this interface here, right? Which effectively is a service. So we oh no, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I want to do. Alrighty, right. So I think that talking about in quotes mistakes, I don't think really that the Onip store really requires the serialization provider. I think what we want is a cache generally using like a serializer for its key and a serializer for its values. Because like other stuff could be using that, right? So it's only there. I think we would sort of want to bring this kind of association. And so effectively what I think ought to happen is that the config, actually even probably the runtime config, would be the place where I would put all that in. So let me check whether that is really... Oh.
Yeah.
No? Shoot. Yeah. Now's the time to talk.
So, config, this is the cache config, right? This is not some internal thing. This is API. Correct?
I don't know. That's the runtime config, and as you can see, this is a private class. Now there is the cache runtime config that implements and that we expose to the outside world, which as of today does expose the serialization provider. And I don't think it should, if anything, I think it should expose the key serializer and the value serializer.
I don't think it should expose that.
You think that should even go out of the way?
Serialization. So to me, the things that go on config are the things that are innate to a cache. Fundamentally, you could not have a cache without those things. So key type and value type are defensible. Capacity constraint is defensible. A cache without some kind of capacity constraint doesn't make sense. Eviction, vetoes, and prioritizers make sense. Caches without eviction aren't caches. Get class loader I can defend because it's a Java thing. And get expiry I think makes sense. I think expiry is very fundamental. It's maybe not quite as fundamental as eviction, but it's a very fundamental concept of a cache. But serialization provider to me isn't. It's entirely plausible.
Serialization provider, I agree, but a serializer
Isn't.
isn't.
No,
Okay.
a heap cache won't have it necessarily.
Well, actually, yeah, but it
The
could.
question is, you can have, the question to my mind is, if you've got a pure in-heap cache, what does serialization provider return? Or serializer or whatever?
Well, I guess the one that it uses. So effectively, if you configured it as store by value,
Okay, it's not. It's by ref.
then it would
So by
return
ref-
null because it tells you it returns nothing. The way that I look at this, this is totally not why I wanted to bring this, but we can discuss this.
Right.
The way that I look at this is the runtime config lets you introspect whatever the config is that this cache uses. That's my thinking.
Right,
So
but what
it
about?
uses that? So I think it's
But
fair enough to expose.
But the thing is, you draw the line at an arbitrary point. There's a million different. I mean, because otherwise, if you take that line, then arguably you can fold in every possible configuration option for every possible implementation store.
All right,
will
so
ever
you
run.
mean it should be part of this, effectively?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. How it exposes is fine. But effectively, again, the point I wanted to highlight is not this method. It's
Cool.
oh crap.
You don't.
The
I didn't
association
prep-
that this method represents. So I think it shouldn't be that. It should be it should effectively a cache.
As a key serializer and a value serializer.
Exactly.
No.
Another provider.
No. A store uses them. A cache doesn't have them.
Actually, I disagree with that because so you would say that you may want to use different serializers with different services that.
I think we answered that question already.
Well, you might do, you might not, but it's not about whether or not. It's to me who uses the serializer.
No, but that's... Wait.
Bunch of things within the cache.
Right, but they might be different serializers.
And so,
Serializing different types potentially even. You might be serializing things other than keys and values for all you know.
Yeah.
This is why I think get serialization provider on the
No.
config is
Forget
weird.
about that. Don't focus on that.
I know. I said that's
Done.
why I find that
Okay.
weird. I find it weird for two reasons. One is it's not a fundamental property of a cache.
No, all right, so
To
that's
have a
fine.
serialization provider or a serializer. But two, to me, it's not the cache that uses it; it's the store that uses it.
All right. So let's go that way because I got a way out of this because otherwise.
Okay, cool.
we're-
Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
do any prep work for this at all, so I'm running in blind.
All right,
and just
so here we are.
telling you about shit that I see.
That's a configuration of.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Here we are. You didn't do any preparation, so I need you to focus. So what you're looking at is the configuration interface of a store.
Yes, that's
Cool.
fine. I think
What is fine?
maybe, particularly because it's not an externally exposed thing.
Okay. But what is so you would keep it like so?
Oh, serialization provider. No, I think your argument about the fact it shouldn't be a serialization provider is right. It should be a serializer.
a key
And
serializer.
then you probably want different methods for key serializer, yeah, and value serializer.
Okay.
Okay, don't know.
I'll
Is it a?
think about that. in a
Yeah, we'll
sec.
stick with that for the moment. We'll think about the generic sequencing. Yeah. Sorry.
Right, that's what we want, right? So yes. So what
Yep.
could it be? So could it be anything? Oh, I need to go check what this is.
And I'm still feel it should be pulled through the services, but stuff. But let's look at the code that's going to use that in a second.
Right, it's true that we can. Right, so yes, sort of running around here in circles. Well, it depends. Well, though, who creates that stuff?
We've got an hour. We might as well use it.
Right. So, anyways.
But I'll shut up now, and you can just
Yeah,
do
because
what
I
you want to
lost
do.
track
And
of
then
all
if
this
we
stuff.
get to the end and we got time, then I can play about things I saw on the way.
No, I don't think we'll implement this, right? Good. I don't think we'll get to implement this in this session.
No,
There's a bunch of work that needs to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Effectively, I could cancel that and use something that's already there.
So what you're aiming at here, if I understand correctly, is the cache manager potentially having a serialization service which is able to provide serializer.
No, that's a serialization provider. It already exists. So if I go to cache manager,
Right.
Okay, a serialization provider, and that one will be life cycled, if it makes sense, by the cache manager, and it will be used by the cache, and I guess that means by the stores, when they're being configured to get the proper serializer for the key and the value.
Effectively, I want this to happen exactly like the way it's happening here. When I want to create my store, right?
Yes.
My store needs to be able to do something. So there are a couple of ways, right? So let me see how we provide this.
Yeah, so it's going to be the same. The store then either gets them injected.
Oh, here we are. Creates the store, passes the service config. There is one thing that we never do. Crap, now I'm confused myself. Right, we pass the service configs, but we never pass a service locator. Is that correct? That's probably not. Oh yes, no.
Because no, you do need to pass it in.
No, but wasn't it not that at?
For the moment, we don't.
Right, but is it not so that it gets?
But that's because your config is exposing the serializers. Whereas what I'm wondering is, should it be that the store looks them up through the locator, or looks up the service serialization provider through the locator and asks for a serializer for a given type?
And so there are a couple of ways, right? So either we let the service itself, i.e. the store provider, look the stuff up that it needs.
Right.
I think I like that. So effectively what I'm proposing, and that's the one flaw that apparently, I'm not sure, we never had anything that requires looking up a service.
No, because what you're doing at the moment is sticking it on config and pulling it through there and injecting it.
Yeah.
The question is, what should a store do? Should it be the thing that creates the store's responsibility to know what the store needs? You've got this weird thing going on, right?
Yeah, that's wrong.
Sorry.
It's nothing that I do, right? It's all code that appeared over time.
Yeah.
What I realized, so while you were not there, I was saying that services can be used by caches or other services. In order for a service to use another service, it needs to be able to look it up. So do we have any service existing? So in order to be able to look it up, it needs a reference to the service locator used by this cache manager. So there are two ways, right? So and that's what I was just looking up here. So we could pass the service locator here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like so.
Yeah.
Get started. You care about it, you keep it. You don't care, you just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
Or any service. Cache to the writer. What does this do? See, doesn't care about anything. Or then a specialized service can then say that it needs it.
Yeah, it feels like it could maybe be done through dependency injection of some kind.
I'm surprised we never did anything like that yet.
Well, this is the thing. I think it's chicken and the egg. I think that you didn't make service locator available to services, so people haven't been doing what we wanted them to do, which was when one service needs another service, so you locate defined it, which is what should be happening here, I think, which is that the store provider, whatever it's called, that generates stores, should use if it knows its store. So the store, so the thing that creates disk stores, the store provider, the disk store provider, right, knows that disk stores need serializers. So it would do in the process of constructing a store, it would go service locator dot find service serialization provider, find it, create serializers for the two, and then hand them to the constructor of the disk store, because it's a disk store provider and it knows that disk stores need serializers.
Yeah.
And what's more, the serialization provider interface that disk store needs can sit in a module on its own that is a dependency of the disk store, but not of core. And then that way you've abstracted serialization out of core, which makes sense to me because it's not a core concept.
Yep. That all makes sense.
Cool. First time today.
What?
It's the first time something that has made sense today.
Yeah.
For me, at least. Or that I've made sense.
I think it's the first time anything makes sense to me for this entire week. Right. So now, this is going to refer back to another discussion we had, and I'm not sure I want to open that kind of worm here quite yet, which is dependencies. And with regards to the life cycle of things, oh no, nothing's a problem. Never mind, I'm an idiot. I'm all good. Because, so it's part of one thing that I did, and I realized maybe you want to abstract this in its own thing, which could be, or not. I don't know. Oh, by the way, we never discussed this visibility thing. It's fun. In Ehcache Manager, right?
Yeah.
The way that I do all this, there are all those releasable. So that's the way the cache manager does it.
Right, but it's up to the
right.
Here's the thing.
It's up to the other service that asks for something to release it. It's all life-cycled, so it's all good.
So the disk store provider will be told to release the disk store, and then in the process of doing it, say, oh, well, when I did this, I created a bunch of serializers. I should call the serialization provider and call release on those with those providers. It chains down.
Yeah, totally. So it works perfectly fine. And
cool.
Right. So let's not discuss that matter because that's going to.
Does this clean away your stack as well?
What?
Because your stack that you had in the manager, because it kind of cleans that up, because now the manager doesn't have to worry about life cycling arbitrary resource types that it doesn't understand. It only has to worry about life cycling the things it does understand.
Right, but I don't think it cleans it up. What I like about this approach is effectively you had something that was sort of unspec'd. That when you create stuff, you also need to make sure that you kill them in the same way that you...
In the same ordering.
Right, in the same
ordering.
ordering.
Yeah, that's now handled naturally by each implementation.
No, you still have this thing. We still create it creates a bunch of things like the cache loader, the cache loader, all those things. So the cache here, you just express this way, right? And you don't need to go anywhere else. You just add things. You don't need to... Effectively, it's easy. They're popped out of the stack automatically because you just need to add them to the stack. That's what I mean. It was kind of a, you just need to express what needs to happen when it gets released as you do it here. I find this nicer in that sense because now effectively this method contains all that logic. Prior to that, you would create the things and then you would go to the, what is it, the other method that uses that? The close Ehcache, right? You would do, and here you would respec this in the same, in the opposite order, Does that make sense? Yep. Now you don't need to care about this. You just create all your stuff, and for as long as you add anything that needs to be released to the releasable stack or deck, effectively, because it's not a stack. Well, in the JDK sense is what I mean now, right? It's gonna get released properly for you in the reverse order. So I still, effectively these are 3 lines of code. It used to be like 7 lines of code here, and most probably more to come.
Right.
So, anyway. But the dependencies, yeah, you're right. That's a non-problem, so that's good. I like this. So wait a sec. Whoa, Ehcache implements that, and remove cache is one of the method high above in the methods in Ehcache. That makes total sense.
So sorry, was this the problem that we came here to solve, or is this
No. So back to the real thing, right? So
cool.
So, but it still makes sense. So what we want to do now is effectively. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but I'm probably gonna make a pull request only for that. My proposal is that we change this method signature. Take the service locator.
Can you show me the call tree on that thing?
Call tree on the start?
Yeah, who calls start?
Oh, the cache manager?
Cache manager.
No. Oh, that's a good one. No, the service locator. Well, yeah, there are two things. There are two things. That's a good one. So there is the one, the stuff that gets started. The cache manager sets all the services that were registered with it when it got created. The ones that get looked up are created by the service locator. Are started by the service locator. So if we're running, we start the service. So there are two places. So effectively, start all. Maybe that's what you want to see. Start all, which is called from. Oh, that's called by the.
I'm just wondering if you might need it before start as a service.
Might need it. What is it?
The service locator.
The service locator.
Why would you need it before start?
I don't know. What might you do before start?
You mean in the constructor then?
Yeah. Or in anything chained off of it.
Right. Well, don't do it there. It doesn't work. You can't do it at the. You can't do it within the constructor. That doesn't work. Or it's flawed effectively because your service needs to be able to be stopped, restarted, restopped. You know.
Okay.
So you need to be able to
Okay.
to act differently. And by the way, you could get a different config passed to you when you're being restarted a second time.
Okay.
So I don't think you should. So this is why I'm thinking that the start is the best place to
That's
put
fine.
it.
I mean, we put it there and see what happens.
Okay, so I'll do that, but I'm not going to do this now.
Okay.
Oh, should I do this now? No, but I need to
No.
change all the implementation of
There's
that.
only two call sites.
Yeah, call
They
sites.
should give you-
But there are a bunch
Right,
of
but the implementations will not ignore it for the moment. So
Right. So what I'll no
this
right,
is
but I need.
IntelliJ.
Yeah,
It should
that's
do
fair.
it magically.
Actually, you can.
Yeah, I was going to say. Don't want you to have to do it now. I was just trying to pull your chain about the IDE.
But
I just need to find refactor, add, change signature, and then what? Go ahead, Louis. You want to talk?
yes. So when you look at the persistence service that you wrote and is part of another pull request,
Okay.
one flaw it has for the moment is that it can't really.
Wait. Oh, but I don't have this pull request. Yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So shoot. What flaw does it have?
It does. It has no way of providing. So it's going to be used by a persistence layer. So one store, the disk store.
For instance, or a persistent right behind Q. It could be used
Yeah,
by a bunch of things. Yes.
But in that context, it probably needs some information about the cache it's currently serving, or at least, like naming it to make sure that
Okay, okay. We'll go a little bit all over the place. Nobody will understand what's going on in this hangout, but that's fine.
No, but in that context, doesn't it need the service? No, actually, it's not at the service start.
No, it's not a service start.
Yeah,
At the service
correct.
start, it would get past the thing, and I want to store stuff in /temp, right? It gets past that. Then there is a method on that thing. If my memory serves, it's called like get or create persistent context, or
Yes, and that one, yeah.
right?
Yep.
And that one gets past some information about the stuff that we're currently creating. In
Yes.
what context this is being asked, right? A context being effectively a cache.
That's correct.
A cache. Actually, we could even specify this as a type. A full cache context effectively is its configuration and its alias.
Yes. Yeah, but indeed, it's to be used by the service. It's not something you want at the start of the service.
No, the service couldn't
I'm
care
confused.
less.
Okay. No, indeed. Okay.
Okay.
And we need indeed just to add
we
the
need
service
to do
locator.
that. So I'm gonna. So I said I'm gonna cheat because this is gonna be much quicker. Provider, blah blah blah. Service service locator. And let's see, obviously, they must be unhappy at multiple places now. All right, here we go. So that pleased them. All right, yeah, there's this whole adjust config also is a slight, has a slight smell to it. Some of it will be fixed now with this thing. So anyway, so now we can create the store, and now obviously we don't have anything implementing this. So we only have this doing this right now. Yeah?
This is a bit of a problem actually with what we just did that might require us to move a class.
What is?
Services in the API package, but service locators in core.
Ah, that's why I didn't find it when I was trying to do the refactoring with it.
Yeah, I just tried to do the refactoring in NetBeans and it's like, no.
I thought service locator and you should find everything. Nope, nothing. You know what? This may be the reason why this is not the way it is, which is a crap reason. But okay, so initially, well, some of you may remember service locator used to be behind an interface, and that interface was actually in the API stuff. And I deleted that, and I made it all like one. Maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah, because the interface actually makes sense in the API, doesn't it?
Right. Totally.
The service doesn't. All the service wants is a way of finding other services. It doesn't actually care how that works. And the service locator is a particular implementation of how you might find services.
Right. Exactly. So
if you expand the interface, it allows like people to do cleverer shit, like expose, cripple,
so why does that? So the store interface is in core. That's good. Helps me right now. So this works.
Yeah.
So I'll delete it all. Right. So now I got my service locator in here. Let me fix the other one quickly. No, I'll fix everything afterwards. I'll undo everything. I'll redo everything afterwards. So now I got my service locator, right? And my service locator takes the store config, blah, 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 and then there is the store by value craziness here that goes on. And we pass it in there, and then this guy gets the config passed in, and then that can be looked up, and now we'll be able to pass it through. Anyways, all right, so I said we would discuss Abelash's problem first, so we're not. We discussed Ludovic's problem first now. So effectively, the problem that Ludovic had, sorry, was looking at all this is like the one single implementation that we have in here is the provider that implements the on-heap store, right? So same thing there. There are a couple of ways of solving that, and I'm personally not quite sure which one's the best. So the first one that comes to my mind is that I had in mind initially was to have the one to rule them all, right? It's what we have right now in the 2x line, which is the cache store, right? Sometimes we bypass it, but effectively it's the one to rule them all. And you could do the same thing with a provider, right? You could have a store provider that just knows how to resolve everything, right? All it needs to return is a store. So let's say you say you only care about a on-heap implementation, it returns you an on-heap implementation directly. In the case of the tiering, you say, what I need is
on-heap plus disk.
On-heap plus disk, exactly. It returns you the tiered store that consists of the on-heap caching tier plus the disk authority, right? That would be in 2x parlance, right? So it would do all that. Then question remains is effectively like this thing could be asked to create something that it doesn't know about all of a sudden. And effectively that's never a problem, I just realized. Because it either creates the stuff that's core, effectively it's an on-heap implementation or the tiering one. These are the two options, right? And then what it actually does is all that stuff that I deleted too, because it confused a bunch of people as well, which is return an on-heap, a caching tier. So we need a caching tier provider within the tiered storage or an authority, right? And again, same thing. How it resolves things is pretty simple. So if my memory serves, and maybe I should double check that's really was implemented, is you can ask the service locator to return you a specialized type of
you can ask for the on-heap
exactly
or on-heap tier provider or whatever.
So you could have an exactly, right? So you could have a subtype of this, and then if you ask for this directly, so provider, it would bail on you.
Yep.
But if you ask for a specialized type, that's perfectly fine. So.
But you might want it to ask for that because you might want to have multiple nested caching tiers. In case you wanted a 3-tiered cache or something. I don't know if we decided how we're going to support that yet. But anyway.
Right, but it could ask for exactly that. Right? It could say, oh, I don't need multiple tiers based on the config that I see. Right? Yep. So, well, it's implemented. We have this already. And the caching tier multi-layered is actually different. Yep. Because the fact that it's sort of, it overflows effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I had always assumed that the tiering store provider, whatever you want to call it, would, as part of its service config, it would take instructions on what to go look for to tier. And those instructions might be in the form of fully qualified class names of services that it should look for things for, if that makes sense. Or it might be in the form of particular shorthands that it is pre-programmed to know and understand.
Right, exactly, right. So effectively, most probably the shorthands is the first thing that comes to mind. But effectively, exactly. It's just we know that this string maps to this, and we write this in Java code effectively to this fully qualified class name. But all we care about is the fully qualified class name. For as long as we can load that class and then ask service provider to from a string is what I meant.
Yep.
And then give it like. So let me rephrase this. For as long as we can access that class object, we can add a service locator to return us an instance of that, and then deal with it. So that's the way that this will work. So that made sense to you, Louis?
Not completely.
Right. So can you ask your questions then? What did make sense? Because this is exactly what I fear, right? Chris and I spent some time on this. I realized not all of the ideas are crystallized in code, which I think actually a bunch of them we deleted over time. And so it's probably very easy for Chris and I to agree on things or believe we agree.
Can we pseudocode that
effectively what happens
provider to rule them all?
Right. So effectively what happens is that this one goes away. This one. The on-heap store provider goes away. It doesn't really need to go away. Because the only thing is you don't want it to be looked up. This is why the preamble was really important. Right now, probably somewhere. Let me find this. That must be resolved somewhere, right? So we have this, right? And this is effectively recorded in
the services.
Yeah, wherever that thing is. Oh, IntelliJ is confused again. To me all the time.
You could actually have the other thing, of course, you can do.
Are you looking for source main resources?
No, I'm looking for the org. Right. I'm looking for this, and here is a guy. So you can keep this there. This is perfectly fine, right? No, sorry. You don't want to keep this guy here. You want to replace this guy with the. Sorry, I'm pointing to my screen. Obviously, that doesn't work. But I don't.
You want to replace that one with the one to rule them all store provider.
Them all store provider, right?
Okay.
Now what this guy does? Let me do this quickly. Oh, why? No, I cannot. All right, cool. Let's cheat.
It won't let you create a class from that. It doesn't understand.
Normally it
service.
does, but like the alt enter, because see, it tells me that this class doesn't exist. But I know that when I share my screen, sometimes not everything works. New Java class. All right, here we go.
Get
All right.
better idea.
Implements.
Store provider.
Right. So, and effectively, what this does here, right? So this would have come through the start, right? So if we want to code this properly, like the way that'll look, let me get rid of this and this. It would be like so, right? That's the way that's going. Well, okay. Let's say.
Okay.
Right. It's not important. So effectively, what you want to do here is, if I guess in this case it would be on the store config. This is maybe why we had this there, this abstraction. I'm going to cheat a bit. Is if only, right? And you can cheat and you can return the, let's say you yourself here in the start could look up the on heap thing, right?
Okay, so you can.
Again, since I don't have the thing, well, I can do the.
It's pseudocode, so.
Service locator dot find service. I don't know where it is.
It'd be really nice if these aliasy things were stored somewhere.
What alias are you referring to?
Well, your store config is heap only. That feels wrong.
Why? That's what I said. It's the one single.
It seems like your one to rule them all would take a.
No. Let's see why.
Okay.
Okay, so that's in the implementation code, so this is why we can't look him up.
That way we should just have one big fat module.
So anyways, no, what I want to say is that effectively there are two returns that you want to do here. Either it's the heap store, or it's the... you write this like pseudocode, right?
Well, just a method that says create heap store.
Tiered store. And the tiered store here needs to look up again. So what is it? Service locator. And service for probably you would look it up in here. Effectively, what you want to look up is what caching tier provider and service. I probably called it. Sorry.
Authority provider.
Right? This guy. That's what you want to do, right? Probably you. Actually, it's not entirely true because most probably these will be services, right? And you will ask service one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, service one.
Dot create caching tier. Store config. Dot create.
Probably the service locator will have to go down also.
Yeah, but we said we passive and start. This is why, this is why I wanted to do the change.
No, but I understand. So it means that provider will have to save the service locator as an instance variable to be able to pass it down.
No, it doesn't need to pass it down. The start, if this gets loaded, it's the start that you don't start the service. If the service gets looked up and loaded at that time, it's going to get started by the service locator itself. You never lifecycle services. Nobody needs to pass.
Unless it's standalone.
Yeah, okay. But yeah. Actually, no, that's not even true, Chris. The service locator, if it's loads a service and it's already started, will start the thing for you.
Yes, you could use a service locator in standalone, but shouldn't it be possible to do it completely, assemble a cache completely from scratch?
create
Oh, yeah,
store.
but then you would need to pass the services into the service locator as well.
So
right?
wait, create store. That's called between start and stop.
Yes. Yes.
So since even if you move the service locator param to the start method, it still means that this
yeah, it needs to be
service
saved here.
implementation requires the service locator as a field.
Yes, but it does need to pass it down, is what I said. I'm not sure what you mean with down.
Okay, because the services have been started already. Understood.
Yes, and if when we find service, it needs to load the service, the service locator is lifecycle himself too. So we'll say, oh, cool, we already started, we're loading this, right?
We're starting
Still
it.
not started.
Okay, got it.
Effectively called start, passing in this, and passes no config, because there is none.
There is no... Yeah.
There is no config. If one is ever required, you would need to pass it in here. That service.
No, I think if one is required, you would need to make sure that you've provided the configuration to the cache manager so that it's passed when it starts the service.
Right, that would be another way. Then the cache manager would need to pass all the configs it knows about to the service locator,
which is what happens already.
No, the way that it happens is that if you pass, this is why I said, but the way that we do this, if you pass the service config to your cache manager, it's gonna go look up the service for that config, and it's gonna be started blah 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 at the lifecycle thing. So it's gonna get something passed in. Is what
with the config, that's that.
With
that
the
time.
config, yeah. But so effectively, what I'm saying is, if you pass the config to the cache manager, the find service will not load the service. It will already be loaded.
Yes,
you effectively said, I care about all that stuff. So what we do is early on in the lifecycle, we make sure that all that stuff you care about, we can honor it. Right? That's effectively why it works this way. Think of it, if the service would be like a Terracotta client to a cluster, right?
No, but that's
you want to be sure that you can start it, right? Otherwise, it's no use to fail late.
Yes, that's clear. That's understood.
Right. So this is why I said this is why there is effectively no service. It could be there is a service configuration here, but effectively the reason you would then use this is to pass it is that your service would care about it at again either at this time, or you could pass it when you invoke this, right? Specific service config, for instance. Oh, what am I doing? Wrong key, sorry. Right. So, anyways.
Yeah, but we will see while we do the implementation if we end up needing something to express that.
Yeah, that's that's more or less the path I took. And actually, if you look at the early history of Ehcache 3, I deleted a bunch of those things. Tiering was in there, blah, blah, and I deleted a bunch of that because we didn't want that, and it tended to confuse more than anything else. And now we're sort of sitting on the opposite scale, right? We need to reintroduce all those things, and the fact that they're not there confuses people too. But I understand, right? Don't get me wrong. All of that sits only in Chris's and my head, and it's probably not crystal crisp neither, because it's all of those ideas emerged probably 3 years back.
And I agree, but again, I think the discussion we've had today would be a great source of explaining how you're supposed to work with services.
Yeah, I plan on rewatching this and using this to update the wiki and put a link to this in the wiki. So again, when you look at it this way, Louis, does it then? So, any more questions you would have, or anything?
No, that makes sense. So that's why I wanted to do the pseudocode. Just
cool. Then we got 10 minutes left, and I'm gonna jump to something else. I'm gonna jump to Avalanche's problem, but I'm gonna illustrate it with serializers. Sorry, not serializers. Cache loader writers. So there is this thing that's the default cache loader writer factory. And I think we want the same for cache event listeners, and I think we want the same for serializers, right?
Yeah. And by the way, we still need to discuss, because I'm still pretty sure the way I worked with 107 around that is probably not what we want to propose as the
okay,
reference.
I'm not sure how this connects now, but I'll just ignore this for now.
Yeah.
Because we got 8 minutes, and
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
going to be dense. All right. So effectively, we got a cache loader writer factory. It's a service. It gets bootstrapped. Blah blah blah. Its only point is to be able to create, and then afterwards, like have the cache loader and writers, cache loader writers, be released. Right. So this is all being taken care of by the cache manager, and it all works fine. Now the problem is we need an implementation of that. Right. You sort of always do. Right. So there is one, so this is why I call them prefix them by default, right? We could override them, like anybody could override, right? And anybody willing to put its own Ehcache distro together could override this, but I still tried to have the default to be as open as they could, and effectively in this case, all they care about is creating things of a certain kind. So what I did is I wrote this default cache loader writer thing, that all it cares about is it knows how to create new instances of given things. So it tries to, so it's this class instance provider, and so, oh my god, yeah, oh, yeah, it deals with a bunch of things, but it tries to abstract certainly all the pain around the class loaders, you know, whether we use the one from the cache loader, the one blah blah blah, and so forth. All of that happens in here. And all you need to do effectively is you create something that says, all right, I'm being configured by those things, and me, and the things that I configure care about those things, right? So me, I'm being configured by this thing. In this case, all right, because we need to be able to add those pre-configured ones at service creation time, and then I'm being configured like so, which effectively probably, so that's thing, default cache, just takes the class, right? All right, and then I abstracted that too. It's should probably haven't abstracted so many things, but effectively it's the thing that returns you the class that we tried to build, to instantiate, sorry. So we can do the same thing for the key serializers and writers, key serializers and values serializers.
So you would have a serializer factory that would have a default serializer factory implementation using again that class instance provider.
And then you can pass it so that effectively all you end up needing to do is in using the Java type system is how this all works together. That's what you declare it. This isn't really like, except that method, which could be doing a bunch of fancy stuff if it wanted. But other than that, it's all very stupid code. It's effectively, oh crap, how do you say that? You just express the dependencies. That's all you do. And then how you want to see stuff being created, right?
And then you follow what you need to implement by... Yeah.
And that just returns those things. So this effectively would have a create new key, blah, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't even need to. Yeah, you could just pass the type in, and that would work. And then that's it. Fuck, that was way too dense, probably.
Yeah, although wait, so that... No, but that method is specific to the one, yeah. So we could either have a create serializer that takes a class, or we could have a...
I'm opting for that one. I would have the thing that takes the class, because the fact that it's a key or a value, you shouldn't care. Beyond that, you're being past the cache config. We could, because I think I reverted from that at some point. You know, it could be. As Chris pointed out, there might be even more types that you would want, right? More than just key and values.
Yes.
Right? Think of stuff that goes right behind queue.
Right behind queues.
Right. So what are they? I think they're commands, right? Like add this thing. Or that's the stuff that we put in there. That's the kind of things that you would want to serialize, and you could do funky stuff around that, right? So you might
want to have a store that decomposes things into their structure and does weird stuff like that. I mean.
Yeah. So there are a bunch of things you may want to do. So I think we should settle for only the key and the value type. Now I'm still willing to buy this all like sorry, in the T type, not the key or value type. Just
Yeah. Okay.
the serialize a given type.
Yes.
I still kind of like the. So there are two ways. Abhilash raised a question. Maybe you got a cache manager that serializes customers, but in one cache you want to use a given serializer, and in another cache you want to use another one. Well, the good news is there are two ways for which you could go about that.
You get the cache.
Oh, awesome. All right. Sorry. No, my phone rang. It's, I think, my bank wants to sell me insurance. They always call when I'm in a call, obviously.
But you've got the cache configuration, which has the service configuration in it, so you can get that to.
Sorry, I lost the window. So, there are multiple ways. So either we settle on this context thing, which is effectively the cache alias and the cache config.
Okay.
Anyways, you don't need that necessarily. That's sort of the easy way, and I'm not sure we want to leak like those aliases like all over the place. So another way you can address this problem is effectively write your own serializer factory thing, or maybe we'll do it if it makes sense, but where you can reference a serializer by name, for instance.
Yeah.
And we don't care because this can be the service configuration of that cache, right? That uses another service configuration at cache manager level that took care of creating serializer A and serializer B for your customer type, and specify that A is the default one. So then, if a cache asks, well, if something asks for a serializer for customers, it always gets the A type back, but it can also say, I want for that type, I want that flavor of it, and it says B. Right, and none of that code needs to know of any of that at another level. Does that make sense? All my crazy rambling.
Well, I'm not sure.
You can encapsulate all that inside your service, and simply with service configurations that configures them. They don't need the cache name for that.
Yes.
Or the cache alias. Right. So if I use, let me quickly try to illustrate this with this. Maybe this will help a little bit. Let me use this one. Effectively, it's this, right? I create my serializer service, right? Well, that's service. Well, I can't fit in there. Service. No. Right? And then in here, I type. So that's my namespace, serializers. I think serializers. I'm not sure whether we allow multiple. I don't remember. Right? And then you could have. Oh, that's a way too long namespace. My is much better. My. Then you do my serializer. Qualifier equals A. This is my company.customer. So by default, it's always the first one that's declared. That's good. The one without a qualifier, because it's called default. I don't know. That may work. I don't know, whatever the thing is. And then when I got my cache, I don't have a cache in here. Crap. Here, fair enough. Same thing, right? Here, I can add my serialize.
As a ref. Well, however you want to do it.
But... Right, exactly. Serializer.
I mean, you can use the same tag, but it's a bit naughty.
Right, so you could say nothing actually, right?
And it will get the default.
This one will get this one because let's say my service is so that the first one it sees is the default one, right? And then if I got another one, I can do here. I can inject whatever I want, right? Value serializer ref ID equals B. There. Right? Now you can inverse the whole thing. You can say that, and you can say that's the default. If you really want to use the alias for anything, you can do it the other way around, right? You can say cache equals
string cache.
Customer.
Oh, actually, no.
Right.
Whatever.
Customer cache. So in this case, like for this type, oh yeah, we're missing some info, but
yeah.
Right. It should have been here type, and this should be the.
Well, whichever. I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you want to structure the schema for your
stuff. I'm just saying we missed some info. And we're missing some. We need.
No,
more.
you're not.
Actually, no, that's not true because.
No, that's hard encoded in whatever XML configuration parser understands this namespace.
Whatever it is, I don't fucking care. Like, it all works. You can do it whichever way you want. That's up to you. That's what I was saying. The point being, you don't need to push the concept of what serializer to use into the cache or into the type or anything. It all works. And so my thinking was that one thing we could do with those defaults, right? All the one we call defaults, like we did here, is we could have I think that right now, I created a factory for them, right? Let's have a look if I'm lying. Right, I created a defaulting factory, and it's probably used in some text file somewhere, right? That defines it as a thing. But we don't need to do that. What we could do is sort of declare defaults in a given place, right, of our own, that the service locator knows about, and you can put your own if you want. Otherwise, we fall back to our defaults. Or we could use the service locator for that. It works too. You know, we know about the defaults. Already. Is that the way it works?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because.
So I don't see it being used here. Which. Like...
So go to the GSR 107 Ehcache.
See that as the default one? Oh, you set it before, and then we don't load it. That's the way that works. Right? Yeah, exactly. You can override them. I'm an idiot. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you override them prior to the thing, you're good to go, and they don't let us.
And you can view that in the Ehcache provider for GSR 107.
Yeah, totally. You're right. So see, it all sort of works already. At least that bit.
So we actually did get something right when we designed all this service gunk.
Yeah. Well, I still think, though, that we need to document and illustrate that through documentation so that people can reproduce the pattern when they need the same.
Wait. You're talking about different things. So the one thing that I want to... Well, I don't know whether you're talking... Yeah, you're raising two different points. Or one, but I hear 2 points. That's what you said.
Okay.
So one is the stuff when you say like reproduce the pattern. I'm not sure what pattern you talk about. The one I care about is like, for instance, this one, right? The default loader factory, blah, blah. That's for developers of Ehcache. Yes. Developers that use Ehcache, we need to reproduce. We need to have another set of doc that shows what happened. That's being done in the 107 code. That says that's the way you inject your own stuff if you want to. Yes. So I'm not sure which one you were raising, but if you were raising the both,
the internal one first.
The internal one, yeah. So that's the stuff that I thought this meeting would help put together. So I need to put some time into that and put it on the wiki, and then the other stuff is user docs, effectively, right?
Yeah. Yes. And we have to work hard to try and like hide the flexibility where it's not needed, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But make it. What we want is something that's ultimately very powerful, but can be abstracted and pulled down to something that's fundamentally very simple and easy to use in the common cases. But I think we can do all that.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing, and even, I mean, at a push, where I think you can even make some of the namespacing stuff simpler, maybe. But that might be a little more complicated. But I don't think it's horrendous right now. And given that the way that most people generate their configs is actually they copy, paste, and tweak, I don't think the burden's too high. But we'll find out when people use it.
So one follow-up out of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a task for me to make the service locator injection into the service as they get started.
Yep.
I'm going to introduce an indirection for that because the fact that it's the actual service locator that does that is an implementation.
So you're going to extract an interface from service locator and stick it in the API.
Just to do the find, yes. For instance, I don't think that I want the load.
No. Yes.
You know,
yes,
load is a powerful concept.
The absolute minimal interface.
Right.
Yes.
And the minimal is defined.
Yes.
I'm thinking that maybe I'll add the thing where you pass in the config for that service, optionally. So effectively, I think the thing will take two methods. The one where you just pass a class with question mark extend service, and the other one is you put blah 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 with a service that that configures. Actually, no. What I can do is you just pass in the config. Then you don't need to, because from the config we can find the thing that it configures. Right?
Yes.
We have this in the thing, so that you don't need to write those 3 lines of code yourself every time. You just pass and just, okay, that's the thing I care about. Here it is. Go figure out the service and configure it accordingly for me and blah, 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 and it all works. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try to make that happen today.
Okay.
And once I've done that, I'll try to re-listen to this nonsense that we discussed and try to put this then.
Yeah. Because I think the thing that was clear from all that stuff that all the stuff that we just modified, is that what we had before, although it was fine and functional, we didn't have enough guide on how it was intended that you use it, and people used it the wrong way.
Yeah, but
so we
again,
need to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So when we started the whole, I'm sort of excusing myself, I shouldn't do this, but I'm doing it anyways. Effectively what happened is there was this huge framework abstract thing in the very early days of Ehcache 3.
Yeah, but it added too much.
Confused the crap out of everyone. So I cleared it up a lot. So there was this indirection I'm talking about and blah, blah, blah. I cleaned it up a lot, and then there was this indirection. I'm like, this has no use. Well, the use I had forgotten about. I deleted it too, and so now we need to reintroduce this gradually. So and
once we have a
point, and I remember if you look, this is inside the main README thing. The reason is because initially there was only this framework stuff, and so I said, it would be cool to document that. I think I put 3 headers or whatnot, and that's
what
I would stick to forever, and then I deleted stuff and blah blah blah. So that's what happened.
Yep. Okay.
Again. We're getting there, and yeah, I guess the general note is, so all of that, and I'm going to push Chris under the bus too on that as well, alongside me. All this stuff, even though we applied all of that in another project, right?
Yeah.
It still happened in our crazy head in what, 3 days, 4 days time? So there's certainly flaws in it, right? And anybody coming around, like trying to implement something, may put his finger on a flaw, or missing the point. Okay. The two are valid, but effectively what I'm saying is everybody that tries to use stuff is more than welcome to challenge what's there, because this is that way we can make it better.
Yeah. And it's easier to challenge now that you can see what the canonical usage.
Hopefully.
Yes.
I think this,
and we expect, and we should make it easy for them to do what's expected of them. And at the same time, of course, if they find a flaw, highlight it, as you said.
Yep. So cool. So I'm going to work on that, try to make that happen. That's going to make, by the way, sort of infrastructure-related stuff. Make my 3rd parallel pull request. The last one I did being open for probably now 4 weeks. They obviously all step on each other, so I'm mainly looking at Louis for the other ones.
Let me merge the basic persistent stuff right now.
If you guys all agree with it. If you do, it's cool because I can then merge all that. Sorry, there's going to be conflicts with the stuff that I'm about to do. And for this stuff that I'm going to do now, Chris, I'm certainly so have an eye on this. At least try to review it quickly. It's going to be a really lightweight thing. Well, on the API front, it's going to impact a bunch of classes because a bunch of classes use it. But from the interface perspective, it should be pretty lightweight until proven wrong.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome.
So done. The 257 is merged.
You push the magic button.
And I also added a comment that closed 30, issue 30.
And it was rebased, right?
Sure. I checked for that.
Cool. I tried to keep it like...
No, don't worry.
Like
I did check. I do check each time.
Cool. Well done. All right. Well, so much on that. Now I think it's all crystal clear as mud. And
Yep.
and questions are more than welcome. On
There it
which,
is again.
let's refill this coffee cup.
Yep.
And
All
so
right.
yeah, if you rebase to 21, you probably want that one to be in also.
Wait, let me stop this
Oh, wait, that
broadcast.
has even
Like,
listener. No, okay.